Oh my goodness. Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, November the 6th, 2019. Show number 1233. I'm Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
Sadly, you folks will never know what we're laughing about, so I'm sorry about that. We're back! Yay! And the only reason we were gone so long is because Melissa wouldn't do the show by herself. She just refused.
Shawn was a working stiff.
Oh God, stiff is the we'll talk about that in a second, but stiff is definitely the word to describe me. On tonight's show, we'll talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about AirPods, AirPod Pros. He's got a set, and he likes them. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Apple TV, Apple TV Plus. Have you guys watched any of the shows? What are your thoughts on the shows? Melissa and I watched 3 of them last night. We'll talk about that after the Jim segment. We'll talk to Jim about his thoughts about Apple TV. And Melissa read an article about emojis, so she talked to us about the whole emoji thing. She tells us everything she knows about emojis.
No. Oh, you put me on the spot. You bugger. No, I can't do that.
Yes, you will.
No, I won't.
Yes, you will.
No.
No, actually, there is a conversation I want to have about emojis that you can help me with. So all that and much more coming up on the show. So yeah, my apologies. We were away for 2 weeks. It just happened to be just the way the schedule worked. There is a local pulp and paper mill. Actually, it's just a pulp mill now. They don't even make paper anymore. They take the tree stuff and purify it and then ship it off to Japan, where I assume the Japanese make paper and probably sell it back to us.
And make their houses out of it.
That's right. Make doors out of it. So the mill shuts down. The mill doesn't shut down, but they shut down bits and pieces of the mill every few months to do maintenance and cleaning and that kind of stuff. And what I was doing was I was on the safety team. I shouldn't do that. We didn't care. No, so the guys are going into confined spaces. These are what they call vessels. We call them holes of, I don't know what they did in there. There was stuff in there, salt, a lot of salt. And because those vessels are confined, they're doing work in there, they're doing welding and doing cleaning. There's a possibility of the air getting toxic for them. So we were tasked with basically watching this hole with a air monitor that was inside the hole, and then every 20 minutes I'd write down what the air quality was, and then every 2 hours another guy would come along and double check my work, and then we also tracked who came in and who came out of the hole, because as we found out, so 4 guys go in and 3 guys come out, you can't go to lunch. You got to wait for the 4th guy to come out. You got to check on the 4th guy. It was boring, but very intense, because if something bad happened, it means that someone in there is breathing toxic air. And you can't do that for very long. And we weren't allowed, or trained for that matter, to be able to go in and rescue. We were not a rescue people. We were just basically the canaries yelling, "Ah!" And it brought up this horrible scenario in my head of somebody having fallen or overcome with fumes, and me going, "Hang in there!
I can't come in.
Can't come in."
But didn't you have a blower thing?
I called somebody. Well, no, we had a air horn.
Okay, right.
If our air monitor things, if they started beeping, you'd blow the air horn and get the guys out, because the air monitor was set for carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen, a bunch of.
Oh, well, you don't want to go in there. No,
oh God,
no.
No.
You know.
But that's the thing. People would say, "Well, why wouldn't you go in and save him?" Because if he's overcome by fumes,
what's the point? You go in and
me holding my breath ain't gonna do any goddamn bit of good.
Yeah.
You need professional. But you would feel like crap standing in that hole and being able to maybe not even see the guys. You're going, "Hey, hold your breath for a little bit longer. They're coming." You know, the guys, the safety crews aren't there, can't be there instantly. It's going to take them a little bit to get there. But yeah, it was very intense. And thank you, weather gods. It was sunny for the whole week we were there. It was cold, but sunny. We had 1 day of rain. I thought, oh man, if this had happened for the whole week I was there, the rain, that would have been just miserable.
oh God, it would have been more miserable.
And one of the things. You don't think I heard that, did you?
He was great.
Oh, no, I wasn't. I was miserable. I could not have done it without my wife. I swear to God, hand to God, could not have done it without her, because I'm not used to. Wait, it wasn't hard work, but it was basically think of standing on your feet for 10 hours. That's what it was. It was 10-hour shifts, and you're on your feet for the entire time. You have breaks, 15-minute breaks, and a half-hour lunch break, but you were standing for the most part or on your feet for a very, very long period of time. And if you're not used to that, that's very hard on you. For those of us who went to Mackerel Expo, do you remember how your feet felt after day 2 or 3? Well, that was day 1. And it kept on through all 7 days I was there. It was very, very hard on my poor little tootsies. And then, you know, you have to wear safety gear. You have to wear I had to wear steel-toe boots. Never had steel-toe boots in my life. So we bought a pair, and they're brand new. So they were a little hard on me, too. But I think even if they weren't brand new, steel-toe boots are freaking heavy. And if you're not used to clomping around, I was walking between 5 and 6 kilometers a day in these steel-toe boots in this confined area. So it was hard. Yeah, Monty, especially standing still, is very rough on feet and lower back. Surprisingly, everything from the knees up was okay. I didn't have back pain, which I was fully expecting.
No back pain.
Didn't have any. It was just my calves and my feet were very, very, very sore. So sore that Melissa actually massaged them, and that tells you something.
He let me touch his feet.
I hate people touching my feet.
Yeah,
I hate massage. I hate massage. I don't like just the idea. I understand. I don't believe in chiropractic. It maybe works for some people, but I don't believe in it. But I do believe in massage. I do. I know people that love massages and they feel like and understand how massage relaxes you. I don't want it. I don't ever want to be massaged. I don't like massages. I don't like strangers rubbing on me. It just feels weird. I just don't like it. And then my feet are ridiculously sensitive. For a grown-ass man, my feet are ticklish as a small child.
He couldn't even walk on the Australian beaches in bare feet, which was just so sad.
So yeah, Melissa actually, what's that stuff you put on?
I got this
stuff.
beautiful Chinese gel. Oh my God, it's just gorgeous, beautiful.
What kind is it, like Tiger Balm?
Yeah, it's good. Gets right into your muscles and your joints. It's good for pain management.
See, I disagree. You put that stuff on me, I don't think it made any difference.
Okay.
I think the rubbing the knots out certainly helped a lot. It hurt, but oh, and then the worst part. This is my life. All right, you guys know my life. My life is so. I saw the job posting on Indeed.ca. I applied. They just need warm bodies. There was no, basically, if you were breathing, they were going to hire you. There was no interview or anything else like that. So I go and do the job. I thought we were going to be there until Friday. Last Friday? Yeah, last Friday. But I got laid off on last Wednesday. So 2 days short. And as you're walking out of the mill's got security, so you got these little swipe badges. There's a woman there from the safety company, not the mill, but the safety company, who had hired us and trained us and paid us. Handed in. Thanks very much, Marilyn. And we talked for a little bit. I said, yeah, I was disappointed. I didn't get to stay a little longer. She said, well, we had a bunch more mill people than we were used to. I said, what do you mean mill people? She said, well, people who were unionized by the mill who were working the job. And we have to lay off non-union people before we lay off union people. And I was like, oh, okay, I get that. I have no problem. That's the point of unions. Unions are there to protect the jobs of union members. So not a problem there. And then Marilyn said to me, next time you should apply through the union. Now, Marilyn works for the company that hired me. And she's now telling me I should apply through the union. I said, oh, really? Why is that? She said, because you get paid $10 an hour more. Excuse me? $10 an hour more.
I don't know how that mix-up happened.
That just was not a mix-up. It's I didn't know the process. That just really just burned my hide. But I could have made an extra $10.
And they really liked you too. Yeah, they really liked you.
Could have made $10 extra an hour.
That hurts, isn't it?
That hurt. Well, that's almost $700.
Ugh. Ouch.
Yeah, for 2 days. I mean, I'm saying in the 2 days that I didn't work, it would have been an extra $700. Because I would have wanted the union people, and they would have kept me on for the extra 2 days.
Next time we know.
It wasn't an interesting job. It wasn't. There's something about working with people who work for a living, like hard work. The guys who were going in and doing the cleaning, oh my God, These are Boilermakers, and these guys are as big as boilers. I mean, I'm 6'3" and 260, and I was one of the smallest guys in the area. There was a guy, Jamie, 6'6", 350 pounds if he weighed an ounce, and he's getting into a hole that literally is no bigger than a 27-inch monitor. He was getting into a hole that was small, that was about the same size as this monitor, and crawling through dirt and slime and stuff. Him and another guy named V. V was Samoan, so you know how big V was. So those guys worked there. They were hard-working guys. So I wouldn't want to do their job, but it was to a certain degree, it's a stereotype from the point of view of these are rough and tumble Boilermaker type guys, and but they were nice guys. I had fun hanging out with them, and if you have the right mindset, I'm responsible for them too.
Yes, absolutely, and they appreciate. They need to trust you.
They actually asked one of the women who was there my first day they asked the company to move her.
Yeah.
Because they didn't feel comfortable with her.
I don't want to go in the hole if I have some spacey person there who doesn't know what they're doing.
That's right. Mosquito says, but you have to pay union dues, Shawn. Yeah, but union dues aren't $10 an hour.
Yeah, and well, next time we'll know.
Yeah, well, and I'll definitely do it again. It was hard work, but it was a short period of time. It was compact. My wife took wonderful care of me. She made me lunches every day.
I made him I would bake so he would have fresh muffins and cookies in his lunch. I would make him beautiful dinners when he got home. I would rub his feet. I mean, crazy. But when I go to work full time, and I don't get that treatment.
Oh my God.
I don't see you rubbing my feet.
Not only you simultaneously patted yourself in the back and drove a bus
violin.
And then patted yourself in the back while playing a violin, then drove a bus over me at the same time.
No, I did spoil him. But you didn't complain. You were happily went off and did it, and now we've got way less credit card debt, so it's good.
I'm serious when I say I literally couldn't have done it without Melissa. There was no way. I got home. I was exhausted. I just wanted to lie down. I don't think I would have tried to make a lunch. I might have tried to go buy lunch. You know what I mean? I would have gone someplace and bought. I don't know what I would have done. But yeah, without you helping me, I literally couldn't have gotten through that time because I was literally. We were getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, having to ride the motorcycle in the dark, which was kind of scary. The job was from 6:45 to 5:15 at least, 10 hours each day. By the time I got home, it was 6 o'clock again, so it was 13 hours later. All I wanted to do was eat and go to bed. I was in bed by 8 o'clock, 8:30, asleep by that time. And Melissa would stay up, but still get up with me at 5 o'clock in the morning. So you were incredible. Thank you. I'm serious.
You're welcome.
I could not have done it without you. I wouldn't have done it without you. I would have quit it for 2 days.
I wouldn't let him.
Or I would have gone someplace and bought like 75 sandwiches. Put them all in a bag.
Put them all in a freezer. Okay, next sandwich. That's a good idea.
I would spend all the money on sandwiches. So, later on the show, we're going to talk about emojis. Do you use emojis? Do you know what emojis are? Do you like emojis? I hate emojis. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com after this short break. So please stay tuned. This is your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening on the show. On our phone now, we've got a good friend, Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Shawn. It's good to be back. Good to see you. I have something to tell you before we hop in.
All right, go for it.
So,
apparently it's your frickin' show. Jesus.
I've been watching it. Just you take it down about 20% there, buddy. So I've been watching a show on Netflix that was filmed in Newfoundland.
Yeah, how cool. Which one?
It's called The Republic of Doyle.
Oh, yes, I love that.
So for the first 3 seasons, they made it seem like they weren't in Newfoundland, or the first 2 seasons. After that, they just went all out on
nice.
the Newfoundland talk.
Nice.
And they're, they say, "Come on, boys.
Come on, boys."
Yeah,
it's all one word.
Even if they're talking to girls.
That's right.
Come on, boys.
That's right.
And they're saying things that, take me back to Nova Scotia. Because even, there's a lot of Newfies in Nova Scotia. And they said, like, "Don't bother me. I'm crooked today." Meaning right. They're in a bad mood. They're crooked.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, "What are you up to?" they say, "What are you at?"
What are you at? Yeah. Yeah.
What are you at? And, you want to pick somebody up. Well, stay where you're at till I come where you're to.
That's right. I love that that whole thing. Stay where you're at till I come where you're to. It's right. The language of Newfoundland is wonderful. It is fantastic. Adore it.
It is fantastic.
We in Nova Scotia are almost, I'd say, about 50% of the colloquialisms that Newfies have. We have the same kind of thing, but not nearly as much as Newfies have. Yeah? My favorite one is "Lord Thunder and Jesus by."
Yeah. And people say, like, in the States, you walk into a bar, you can tell a Southerner.
Yeah.
Well, you walk anywhere in Canada, you can tell a Newfie.
they're great people. We make jokes about them. We tease them as being like the dummies of Canada, but they're wonderful people. I love Newfies, and I've always told people that per capita, Newfies give more money to charity. They're the poorest province in Canada, and yet they give more money to charity than anyone else in Canada. So they are fantastic people.
Yeah, I agree, and they have the best language too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because it's certainly not English.
Well, when we were kids, I remember the story of some Dalhousie. Dalhousie, folks, is a very large university, well-known Canadian university in Halifax, and some Dalhousie University linguist professor went to Newfoundland to study the language, and he posited that the way Newfies speak is Shakespearean English from the 16th century, because that's who settled Newfoundland was Brits at that time. And because of the isolation of Newfoundland, the language never evolved the way it did other places. So he's saying that the way Newfies speak, the way we make fun of them, the way they speak, is actually the way Shakespeare spoke, which is kind of cool.
Well, come on now.
Is that going a little too far?
I think that might be going a little. I'll tell you, boy, that's going a little bit too far.
It's great.
Don't keep doing that. You make me crooked.
Well, speaking of watching TV, Apple TV was finally, Apple TV Plus was finally turned on Friday. Yes. I'm assuming you, like most of us, signed up almost immediately, either for the 7-day trial or for the full $5 a month, which is not that expensive. What are your thoughts so far in general? And then we'll get into specific shows.
So I haven't watched a single show.
Really?
I have not.
Jesus, how can you? You are utterly useless to me.
I know. I'm embarrassed to say it.
Oh my God! This whole segment built around the idea we were going to be TV critics about this stuff, and then you just blew me out of the water. I'm screwed now.
Well, I'll have you know that Dave had the same thing planned this morning when we recorded an hour, and I said, I haven't watched a single show, and I don't know what happened last weekend, but on Friday, I signed up just like everybody did.
Yeah.
And I planned. I mean, we had planned for this day. Like, we knew it was coming. It didn't come as a shock to me.
No.
So we had planned to watch For All Mankind and See and the morning show and just, run through these shows over the weekend. I was barely home. I had so much stuff going on. It's probably the busiest weekend that I've had. And so I didn't see a single episode of a single show.
Monty in the IRC chat room says, I haven't watched any of it either. I wrote, but yeah, it's not your job though, Monty.
Yeah, shut up. I like Monty. I don't like you. Monty and I are going to do a show.
So, well, now what the hell am I going to talk about? Okay, well, you said. No, go ahead.
What I find interesting about the reviews of the show so far is that the audience reviews are so much better than the critics reviews.
The Rotten Tomatoes reviews are less than half positive. The audience, the actual people reviews are 75% positive. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah. So here's when I go to watch a movie, I don't read any reviews.
Yeah.
I never do, because I don't believe that the critics and I think the same about. I mean, we all know that there's crappy movies out there. There's crappy comedies,
sure,
but you're gonna laugh your ass off anyway.
Yep.
There's crappy action films that have Steven Seagal in them or something like that, or Jean-Claude Van Damme these days, and the critics are gonna pan them. But you know what? I'm gonna like it.
Yeah.
So so I just don't watch. I don't watch critics' reviews or critics' reviews of anything, even TV shows. So I don't really care what the critics have to say.
I think for me, the whole critical thing was, I'm like you. I'll read a synopsis of a movie to see if it's interesting to me. I will watch the trailer of a movie to see if it's interesting to me. But I will not read the New York Times critique of a movie. I will not read those kind of reviews of
I don't
movies.
do any of that.
But it was interesting to see how many, just from headlines, how many critics on many websites were pointing to all these stories in Variety and New York Times about how the critics at the very least were tepid about these shows. And I wonder if that affects people. You and I, maybe not, but I wonder if other people are looking at those reviews and saying, okay, I won't give Apple $5.
Yeah, and if that's what they want to do, then I guess every network has to worry about those people.
Yeah.
But from what I understand of these, they're very well done.
Yes.
Some of them start off slower than others.
Sure.
But I don't know how that's any different than any other TV show, or movie. It's just, I mean, some of them start off quicker. Some of them you introduce all the characters first. Some of them, you do these different things. Did you see the trailer today for the M. Night Shyamalan or whatever his name is?
M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, I think is his name.
Yeah. Did you see the trailer for that one?
Yeah.
Scared the shit out of me,
right.
That one. Oh my God, I can't wait to see that. I'll be up at nights watching that one.
It's very interesting to see how Apple is being held to a higher, different standard, not only with phones and laptops and keyboards, but now it's with TV shows. That if this was Netflix or Amazon, everyone would go, these are good first attempts. These are good first tries. But Apple, they've got to hit a home run out of the gate every single time with every single show. Not all of these shows are going to be winners. Not all these shows are going to appeal to everybody.
Well, I don't know that some of these shows aren't out of the park hits. I mean, I really don't. Yeah. I think they look pretty good. The Banker. Did you watch that one?
Oh, the trailer for that? Yeah, I'm all over that. I will.
So am I.
I might watch that one in the theaters. That's a theater level movie. Just the actors of it, and the storyline of it is fascinating to me.
Fascinating. Samuel L. Jackson, and that's. What do you mean you're going to watch it in the theater?
It's going to be in the theaters before it goes on Apple TV Plus. You really should read the stories I post in the Loop, dude.
Huh.
I mean, it is your website,
I was busy. I told you.
Yes, and we know why Apple is doing that, right? It's to make it eligible for award seasons.
Well, yeah, they have to.
Yeah.
So I thought that was absolutely amazing. That one, and there's another new one, Hala.
Yeah.
That I looked at and thought, whatever. I looked at the trailer and thought, damn, that's good.
Yep.
Dickinson, one I never thought I would like. And, with that modern twist that they put on the old time stuff, I was like, damn, yes, I want to see this.
If I had just read the synopsis of Dickinson without seeing the trailer, I would have gone, no, I'm not watching that. I have no interest in that. It's a chick flick. I don't care. I don't want to see it. But watching the trailer made me go, that was kind of cool.
That's exactly what I did. And when I was watching that, the Ding Dong one, I looked at it first, and when they started, they gave too much away for me in the trailer. They gave too much away, and that's what I don't like about watching trailers. So I actually stopped it, so that I didn't get any more. But I got enough where, like, I'm sitting there in the chair looking at it, going, "Holy shit! This is crazy." I got to remember the name so that M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong.
M. Night Shyamalan.
I'll remember that for the next time somebody asks me, what show are you going to watch? The one by M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong.
M. Night Shyamalan has he did Sixth Sense. He did a whole bunch of. That's his style. Is that kind of creepy kind of thing?
Yeah.
But we've been burnt so many. He's had more, in my opinion, more hits than misses. So that one, his movies always trailer well. They always feel creepy and wonderful. But then you actually watch the movie and you go, oh God, it didn't match up. So that one I'm not as excited about as I was some of the others. Same with Halal. Halal looks beautiful. It looks like it's a wonderful storyline.
Yeah.
It's not something that attracts me. It's not something I want to see. I will watch it, but it's not appointment TV to me. And that being the case, sorry, go ahead.
And you're right. You're right. I was just agreeing with you.
That being the case, does the way Apple released these shows, you don't know because you haven't frickin' watched them, but when I describe it to you, you can't binge watch these. Apple's released the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
They released the first 3 episodes, and then they're going to do a weekly for the rest of the episodes of these shows. Do you like that or don't like that?
Well, I don't like it, but I did talk. Dave and I were talking about this, and he had a great explanation for it. Like, and it's true. They don't really have a lot of shows,
exactly.
So
that's right.
If they put them all out at once, then you can binge watch them, just cancel your account. So yeah, I think in the future they may drop them, and the end of last week, the entire season of Jack Ryan came out on Amazon Prime.
Yes. Yeah.
And Jack Ryan is a great show.
It sucks.
And
it sucks. It's boring.
Huh.
I watched the first 3 episodes and didn't watch any of the others.
Huh. Well, hey Monty, how you doing, buddy?
The other reason why Apple is doing this sort of launch process is, yes, it's they don't have a whole lot, so they need to spread things out. But I think it's because when Apple does this for a lot of things, and people, I'm surprised that people are surprised they don't carry this on. Apple likes dragging promotion out, talking about them out. So what they do with this is they've got a launch thing, and you can talk about 3 episodes, and then every week people are going to be talking about the next episode and the next episode. And so if it's a 6-week show, for 6 weeks, 5 weeks, people are going to be talking about Apple and the show. Whereas if they binged it, if they dropped all 6 episodes all on one weekend or one day, people would the news cycle, the talk about them cycle, would be over in 2 days. I think that's the other reason why Apple is doing this. And I like them doing it that way, because binge watching doesn't allow you to talk about these episodes with friends, because you don't know where they are in the process. You have to wait for all your friends to catch up, and then we've all moved on to something. I like the weekly aspect of this, where every week we can talk to your friends. Hey, did you see the episode last night? What do you think about that kind of thing?
So normally I would disagree with you on Apple doing that for marketing purposes
Yep.
because I don't think that's what they do. But in this instance, I think that's a solid play in especially in this um, type of media
Yep.
because Apple is new to it, but they've got a lot of people who aren't new to it. So
I also think that this allows people to watch the shows on a more relaxed schedule. They don't have to binge watch it in order to catch up with all their friends. I liked for Game of Thrones was a great example of this. HBO doesn't make their shows binge worthy. You've got to wait a week, and I like the idea of waiting a week and thinking about it and talking about it and reading about it rather than everything being dumped on me all at once. Watchmen is a great. Have you started watching this show called Watchmen?
no.
Oh my God, don't. Because I know you well enough after 20 years, you would hate this show because it's confusing. It's all over the place. It's not really coherent, but it's fascinating. And with Watchmen, if they just dumped it all to binge watch, I'd watch the whole series and go, I have no idea what the hell went on there. This way, I can read about it. And
that would frustrate me.
Yes, it frustrates a lot of people. And when I'm reading about it, I can see the frustration even on reviewers. Unless you understand the backstory, and they're very slow. You were talking about it at the beginning. They're very slow in the way they have delivered the information if you have no knowledge of the previous movie and or comic book series. So
I like to watch The Price is Right. There's this guy named Bob Barker.
Uh-huh.
Oh, he is awesome.
You know,
he
Bob's
loves
not doing it no more, right? You know, Bob stopped doing it like 10 years ago, right?
No, I watch the reruns.
You're catching up on your binge watching. Yeah. That would be a problem for a lot of people. I like this methodology. I like dropping 2 or 3 episodes at the beginning so you can sort of get into it, and then next week you can set up and, oh, great, here's a new episode of this show. We've really lost out in that society of that cultural experience of us all watching a thing at the same time and then us all talking about it at the same time the next day at the office or at school.
Well, come on. We had that for 40 years.
And it was great. I liked it.
Or more.
I liked it. I think it was House of Cards on Netflix that was the first one to drop an entire season all at once, and it created the whole binge-watching thing. And while I liked that, because I really liked the first 4 or 5 seasons of House of Cards, it did get A, exhausting because you're watching 6 episodes at night, but B, you couldn't talk to people about it because you didn't know where they were. Or are you in season 2, or are you season 1, or season 1, episode 4? It was kind of annoying. So I'm liking this.
All right. Well,
I think you and I have talked about this before. There's no way that Apple TV Plus can't be a success at $5 a month with at least 100 million potential subscribers. This is going to make Apple a lot of money over time. The issue is going to come in a year from now when people look at this bill and go, okay, was it worth $60? Will it be worth $60 going forward? Will Apple have the content going forward? I think that's why it's important that people like these initial shows and aren't feeling sort of blah about them. I'm surprised. The other thing I was surprised about is that these are a lot more adult than I expected. You haven't watched them, but there's language and there are scenes
I've heard, yes,
in all 3 of the shows. I went, oh, this is not the G-rated show I thought it was going to be. These are PG-13 at the very least. There was a scene in C where I was like, oh, thank God I don't have to explain this to my son. I was like, oh, man, that's not a conversation I want to have tonight, you know?
Yeah. Bedtime,
that's right. As soon as I saw what she was doing, oh, no, close your eyes. Remember your mom doing that, just covering your eyes?
Yeah.
My mom would do that to us all the time. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this
It's like your mom. It's like your mom had 8 hands because she could, cover everybody's eyes,
Yeah. It's and then the where I think Apple's going to have a few issues when it comes to people signing on again is children and young adult type shows. I don't know if they have enough of those. I think right now they've got Ghost Rider, Snoopy in Space, and then the Sesame Street type show I don't know if that's enough to sustain families either.
Yeah, but I don't think any of these services are family oriented.
Disney Plus.
The one I was going to say, the ones that do their own original content.
Yep.
I know Disney's still there, but Disney is a totally separate thing. So,
and I think because of the price point, people would get Disney Plus, and if they like the shows, Apple TV Plus. I can definitely see them going hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree.
Dave posted a story today about just the idea. It's not going to happen, but just the idea of a all-you-can-eat subscription service for Apple products, not music, not just Apple TV, but iPhones,
everything,
and Macs, and what do you think about that idea?
I don't really know. I mean, is that where subscriptions are going?
Yeah,
where we're just going to get absolutely everything? I mean, we lease cars.
Yep.
So that's basically a subscription for a car. We rent, which I don't think is it's kind of the same thing, I guess. But we buy our house, but we lease a car, and then it's disposable, and in 2 or 3 years you give it back and just get a new one. Well, that's kind of what this is, but I don't know what price point. I mean, Dave was talking like $2,000 a year in his post, and geez.
Well, I haven't done the math. I don't know what we are paying for our devices. I mean, I wonder if we are paying somewhere near the $2,000 a year anyway when it comes to financing and credit card charges and all the other things. I like the idea, but I think there are too many variables in it that Apple could ever do this successfully. I can't see Apple breaking this down into, okay, here's a list of 10 things, pick 3, and we'll charge you $17.95 a month for. Apple feels like you get it all or you get nothing.
Well, and really, they already do have subscription models for phones and things like that. So it's kind of hard to figure out. Would they put Macs in there, or would they? I don't know.
Dave posted to a link to a Reddit post where they asked if $2,000 a year would be worth the price if you got a new iPhone every year, a new Apple Watch every year, a new iPad Pro every 18 months, a new MacBook Pro every year, and all of Apple's services, music, iCloud, Arcade, News Plus, et cetera, for $2,000 a month. What's that divided by a monthly charge? I mean, let me just do that. Divided by 12. It's $166 a month. Now, lots of folks can afford that, but would people see the value in it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting conversations going on in the Loop comments, going both ways. One guy says, "Geez, $2,000 a month is nearly my car or a year is nearly my car payment," and people going through the various permutations. I don't think there's any consensus of whether this is either a good idea or a bad idea. Again, it's not going to happen. Apple isn't going to do it, but it's an interesting thought experiment.
Well, and he had one unrealistic thing in there that Apple would give you 2 terabytes of space on iCloud. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, if they haven't done that now, they're never going to do it. I think that's simple as that. I think Apple's made it very clear after all of these complaints. They've heard them. Apple's not a dumb company. They follow social media, and they know people want this stuff for a better price. They haven't done it after all these years. They're never going to do it.
No.
Let's move on. Bernie Sanders smacks Apple for throwing pennies at the California housing crisis. Apple announced a $2.5 billion plan to address the housing crisis in California, a plan that Bernie Sanders and others has criticized as hypocrisy, saying Apple is throwing pennies at a crisis it helped create. Are you in agreement with Bernie, or do you think he's out of line when he criticizes Apple on this one?
I think he's totally out of line.
Why?
Well, I mean, $2.5 billion is not pennies, and it's not up to private companies to fund housing. It's up to the government, or if they want lower cost housing, that's a governmental problem. That's not an Apple problem or a Google problem. I mean, they could sell Facebook off and do something with that.
I'd be more in favor of that.
You know, but yeah, I don't think it's. I mean, okay, Bernie, you don't want the 2.5 billion? Great, we'll take it back.
Apple is putting $1 billion towards affordable housing investment fund, $1 billion through a first-time buyer home buyer mortgage assistance fund, $300 million through Apple-owned and available land for affordable housing, $150 million for Bay Area Housing Fund. That'll buy 2 houses in the Bay Area, won't it?
So what exactly does Bernie want?
Bernie is saying that the it's not enough. That $2.5 billion is, as he says, throwing pennies at the crisis. That's, and he's kind of right, because the problem is much greater than $2.5 billion.
But don't you agree that the government has to step in?
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I mean, I will always cop to my Canadian socialism that, yes, the government should tax the hell out of these people and build this stuff on their own. They should be buying this property at fair market values from Apple. Apple is going to use this property near the airport. Let's buy it off them, build affordable housing, and make things better for low-income people. I don't think private companies should be even involved in this kind of stuff, because this kind of philanthropy can be used against the very people that they're there to support. What happens if Apple says, okay, we're going to build all this affordable housing, but you can't buy the property until you buy an iPhone from us? You know, that's obviously silly, but that's the problem when you have private entities doing public good, is that the interest of the private entity may not coincide with the public good.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that. I think that for somebody in government that so far hasn't really done anything to say, you know, this isn't enough.
Yeah.
I think Apple should just take their 2.5 billion back and say, okay, Bernie, great.
No, I don't think they should do that, but I do think they will.
That's what I would do.
They will, and certainly have, kind of ignored Bernie and sort of said, you know, this is what we're doing. It's okay if you don't like it, but this is the effort we're going to make right now, and hopefully others will join us in on this fund. I think it's wonderfully philanthropic of Apple, but again, I don't think that private companies should be involved in this kind of societal problem. This is for the folks who are outside the Bay Area, you may not even understand how insane the housing market is in the Bay Area. You cannot, on even an average American wage, afford to live in San Francisco. Same with Vancouver. Vancouver has the same problem. The median housing price in Vancouver, the city of Vancouver, is $1.4 million. That's the average housing price. A family, literally an average wage-earning family, mom, dad, 2 kids, a car, literally cannot buy a house, a single-family detached house in the city of Vancouver. It's same as San Francisco. You can't do it. It's
well, and I get that that's part of the overall problem. I understand a specific company's problem, or any company's problem, and you know, for them to say, for, you know, like Bernie or whatever, to say that any one company helped cause this problem is just foolish.
Yeah, certainly it's unfair to look this particular gift horse in the mouth, as Bernie is saying. What I think Bernie should be doing is giving Apple at least a little bit of a pat in the back and saying that we all need to do more, not just lay it at Apple's feet, blame or congratulations, but everyone should be doing more about this, including the federal government.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, but you shouldn't also say to any other company, if you don't do this, then, you know, we're going to shame you or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not their problem.
I agree.
The Bay Area in particular is very, very expensive. So it's really, it's tough to to hold anything.
Yep.
I mean, and California taxes the crap out of everything too.
Yep, I do.
So
let's move on. Bloomberg had a story last week or a week before. Apple revamping smart home efforts after falling behind Amazon and Google. I'm usually poo-pooing Mark Gurman and his reporting, but this seems bloody obvious. And is it too late for Apple? Apple has to do something with HomeKit. They've left this sitting there, and developers, for whatever reason, haven't jumped all over it as I expect Apple thought they would. Does Apple have to start developing their own Apple-branded HomeKit locks and windows and lights and that kind of stuff to jumpstart their side of the market?
This whole headline has been part of the narrative for years.
Yeah.
Apple has let HomeKit die, basically. I mean, but if it was easy, then I can't even get HomePod to work with multiple voices.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't even know how to make that happen. And believe me, I've tried. I've gone in and looked and tried, and I can't get it to happen. So, do they need to make something themselves? I don't know that that's the right idea for them, but they're not jumping on the opportunities that they have. I mean, maybe it's because of the focus on media that they've had over, Apple TV Plus for the last several years. That could very well be something. I mean, I don't know, but home is certainly not an important thing in Apple's eyes. I mean, that seems very obvious.
And I think it's, to a certain degree, a little bit embarrassing for the company. Also, it sort of ignores. We all remember when Steve Jobs said that the Mac was going to be the center of your home hub. And we all had these dreams of how our Macs would be able to control this stuff. That was 10, 15 years ago. And then when Apple announced HomeKit, we all thought, well, this is going to be fantastic. Every developer in the world is going to want to get involved in this very easy-to-use, connected devices where my lights can connect to my front door, et cetera, et cetera. And we all imagined this wonderful Star Trekian utopian world where things would turn on and off by themselves. But Apple just sort of left it sitting there, and developers, for whatever reason, didn't pick it up and run with it. And Google and especially Amazon have completely wiped Apple off the market when it comes to this stuff. There are no well-known HomeKit-enabled locks and lights and all the other things that you can get from Amazon and Google. I think either Apple does something in the next 6 months to a year, or they just cut and run and just get out of the market entirely.
I don't think they'll get out, but I mean, you talk about locks, and I posted on Twitter last week that I was looking for an iPhone enabled lock.
Yep.
And I got all kinds of responses to that.
Good.
And Yale and Slaws and several others were among the recommended ones that would work with your iPhone, and some with HomeKit.
Yeah.
But there's always that thought with HomeKit that what's going to happen? Are people going to be able to yell in your window, unlock the doors in a bill, and I mean, all of that's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, I think the issue is that we're all expecting and wanting the security of Apple, and Apple, for whatever reason, either they don't feel they can make these devices as secure as their reputation requires, or they just don't have an interest in them. I mean, one of the things that I refuse to have, and we've talked about this in the show before, I will not have any Internet of Things connected devices in my home. They're too easy to hack. It's one Chinese company that makes the controllers for these things, and that's just a nightmare. Whether it's Amazon or Google or Honeywell or anyone like that. We've all heard the horror stories of someone's house where their thermostat went crazy on them because it got hacked or got something happened on the internet. And now their home is at 110 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't want any of that stuff. I want it. No. This is one of the few times where I'm a fanboy, where I say I want my devices to have the HomeKit standard and be sold to me just like I buy iPhone cases and iPhone products. Things that have gone through Apple's testing and are approved by Apple. If that's not the case, I don't want it.
So you're saying that you would buy a lock if it was HomeKit enabled?
Yes, because I trust HomeKit more than I trust Amazon or Ring or Nest or Google or anyone else like that.
Yeah, well, I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fair point. But so would you? Nothing else. So if you went to an Apple store today and saw the best HomeKit enabled lock on the market, and it was a special for 5 minutes only at $5, you would buy it.
Absolutely. Because of HomeKit. Because at least then I know that the next device I buy the lock, and now I want to buy a thermostat. That's a HomeKit. I know those two things are going to talk to each other. Right now, we've all heard the horror stories of they buy an Amazon this and a Honeywell that and a Google that, and none of the devices talk to each other. We're back in the old days of print drivers, back in the 90s, when you bought a printer from HP, but your computer was from Dell, and the drivers didn't talk to each other. And so you ended up with two dead devices. I don't want any of that frustration anymore. I don't need that crap in my life. So I want something I know is a standard that works, that all these companies can build to that standard, and HomeKit is the only standard out there, but no one's building for it.
Since this is my show, I'm going to continue asking you questions. What do you think about Amazon and Google? Well, mostly Amazon, to be honest. You know, at CES, building Amazon into a lot of these products. I mean, I was surprised to see today that even TiVo has done it. TiVo built Alexa into their latest remote.
I think from Amazon's point of view, that's brilliant. They've just thrown it out there. And they're selling millions of little Echoes and millions of Dots and millions of Amazon-connected devices and speakers. And that's fantastic for them. For their customers, not so much. Because they've shown with the latest news with the Ring doorbell, where they're working with local law enforcement to access Ring doorbell video. Are you shitting me? Are you freaking shitting me, Amazon, with this crap? That business model works for Amazon. It does not work for their customers. And I'd be one of their customers, therefore I will have nothing to do with anything from Amazon. And same issue with Google.
So, wait a second here. Amazon is doing what?
Amazon is working with local law enforcement in some jurisdictions to be able to so that law enforcement can have access to the Ring video stuff. So that if there's a crime in the area, law enforcement can go to Amazon and, hey, on 12th Street, there was a robbery. Show us the video from all the Ring things in the neighborhood. What? What?
And they don't ask?
Well, the logic is they don't have to ask because that video is showing the outside world, right? It's not the video of the inside of your house. It's the video of the outside world. So a car drove by at 9:12 p.m., and that's the suspect's car. So the police are saying that we should be able to access that information because it's, in theory, not in private space. It's in public space.
And how do you feel about it?
No! I don't know. I bought that device. Whatever that device does is me. I will give permission or not give permission for that because maybe that's my freaking car going by at 9:12.
Yeah.
No, there's no way that these companies should be working with local law enforcement without informing and giving consent to the user to be able to use that video. I spent the money on it. That's my video. Just because it's on your frickin' servers doesn't mean you can give it to anybody who wants to look at it. No, that's wrong.
Well, I mean, isn't that part of what we are trying to deal with these days, though?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is not an uncommon problem with corporations doing things that are better for them than they are for their users.
Yeah. Well, that is not uncommon, and that is not going to change.
No, it's not. But, and like Apple's privacy update today on their website, gorgeous-looking new website for privacy, all Apple can do is lead those horses to the water. We can't make them drink. All Apple can do is make devices as safe and as private as they possibly can. Yes, they'll screw up every now and then, but it's up to the user to recognize and learn what these devices do from a privacy point of view. And many companies rely on users being too lazy or too dumb to figure this stuff out on their own. Luckily, Apple doesn't do that. Apple says, hey, here's our privacy stuff. Here's what we do. Hopefully you'll like this. They don't try to hide. For the most part, they don't hide a lot of this stuff. When they get caught hiding it or even obfuscating it, they step up and they go, hey, we're getting the whole Siri thing, listening to the Siri recordings. They fix that in a fairly timely manner and in a way that was as transparent as they could have been. And this is one of the reasons why I trust Apple over Amazon or Google or any other company.
No, I don't disagree with you at all. But, what we're into here is not a situation of the public trusting or not trusting Amazon. This is what the public is getting there.
Yep.
You won't buy a refrigerator today and you want one that will, talk to you or whatever. You're going to get Alexa, whether you like it or not. Yeah. That's all there is.
That's right.
So that's the situation that we're in. You can't go and say, I would love to have a refrigerator and I only want it to speak Siri.
Yep.
You're not going to get it.
That's right.
So you can trust or distrust as much as you like, but it's not going to help you in the long run for that aspect of it. I mean, we're talking mass consumption.
Scott Thrift in Australia in the IRC chat room said, I think the whole smart home is such a foster cluck that needs to have a totally new direction. One agreed, set its standard, etc. Not every single frickin' thing needs being online. A friend was trying to buy a new washing machine last week and couldn't get one that didn't have a Wi-Fi connection. Why the hell does my washing machine need a Wi-Fi connection? I know why. It's so I can put the laundry in and then from work turn it on. No, turn it on when you're there.
Right.
We just bought a new stove.
Oh, by the way, I think he spelled clusterfuck wrong.
He definitely spelled it wrong. Maybe that's the way they spell it in Australia. I don't know. But up here in North America, it's fustercluck. No, clusterfuck. That's right. So we our stove, as soon as I get this little extra bit of money from this job, something breaks. So the money I made from the job is going into a stove that broke last week. So we're doing the research.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too. Just pissed me off. Hey, an extra couple of grand. Break. Shit.
Yep.
So we're doing research on the stove, and one of the things that the stove has is delayed start. It's not interconnected. It's simply a button that says, I'm going to put the casserole in the oven. You turn on in 3 hours. You don't need internet connectivity for these kind of devices. This stove will not have an interconnection. It just won't. You don't need that kind of stuff. The cool thing about this stove, though, and I know this is going to confuse the shit out of Jim, so everyone listening close while Jim gets confused. Jim, our new stove has a Sabbath mode.
Oh.
You don't know what that is.
You can cook and listen to Black Sabbath at the same time? Wow. That's awesome. I love that.
Wouldn't that be neat? The different burners would be different instruments. So like the front left burner would be the lead guitar, the back right would be the drums. Yeah, that's fun.
Oh my God, I love it.
No, this stove is set up for Orthodox Jews who can't use technology. Basically, they become Amish from Friday at sundown to Saturday at sundown, and so the stove can be set to Sabbath mode. That you put the food in on Friday, and then it will start cooking at Saturday at noon. It's kind of cool, all by itself.
Mm.
So
that's not what I thought it was.
No, I'm sure it's not what you thought it was. But yeah, I didn't see. Man, there was a couple of very high end stoves that had internet connectivity. I didn't even look at them, not only because of the price, but because I do not want any kind of internet connection for my frickin' stove or fridge or washing machine or bullshit like that.
Well, yeah, I get that, and I don't have any on. I mean, let's be honest, I have a Coleman stove under the bridge,
Yeah,
but
of course.
it's not internet connected unless I tape my phone to it.
Oh, dude, I can hear you're out of your lift now. Thanks very much for sticking through the interview with me. Folks, been talking to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. His podcast with Dave Mark is up on the iTunes store. It's called The Dalrymple Report. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks a lot, Shawn.
Talk next week, buddy. See you.
Bye.
Yeah, I lost the button. MacMan says, I've heard of elevators having a Sabbath mode. Yeah, I've got a friend in New York City who programs those. And it's one of the things that one of the buildings that he's in, that his company works in, the Friday, so the elevator knows the time of day. It knows when sunrise and sunset is, so it knows when the Sabbath is. And it's programmed to, on Friday, at the moment of sunset, to now the elevator automatically goes to every single floor and stops, and the doors open and they close and they go to the next floor. So people don't have to push the button. It's really a fascinating aspect of Orthodox Jewish tradition. It's a giant pain in the ass, but it's something you get used to. But yeah, I love, for me, the thing I find most interesting, most fascinating is how the Jewish population gets around these restrictions in perfectly legal, ethical, moral ways. It's really, really interesting. For those who know about it, there is a rope or a piece of string around a huge section of Manhattan, 40, 50 feet in the air. It's because you're not supposed to, and Jews in the audience, please correct me when I get this wrong, you're not supposed to leave your house on the Sabbath. You're not supposed to do work. You're not supposed to push buttons and do stuff like that. But that would be kind of restrictive in 21st century world. So what this piece of string or this rope does around Manhattan is make Manhattan your home, so you can leave the house. As long as you don't go outside the rope or the string. And every Thursday, rabbis around New York City go out in their cars to check to make sure that the string is still unbroken. And if it's broken, they have repair people that come out to tie the string back together again. So it's a symbolic idea that all of this area that's inside the string is still your home, and you can travel freely throughout it. A whole bunch of fascinating aspects of this. If you're interested in more, let me know, and I'll dig up the articles I read on it, or we'll get one of our Jewish listeners to explain it to us. It's really, really interesting stuff. When we come back from this break, we're going to talk to Melissa about emojis. She's suddenly gotten really fascinated by emojis, and I'm going to talk to her about those and whatever else comes to mind. As always, send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Have you watched any of the Apple TV shows? We're going to talk about that, Melissa and I, in a bit. What do you think about them? What do you think about whichever show? We've watched C, the first episode of C, For All Mankind, and The Morning Show. So we'll talk about those right after this short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us here on the show this evening. As we said, Melissa and I have just started to watch the Apple TV shows. We watched 3 of them last night. We watched C, For All Mankind, and The Morning Show. Let's talk about them in order that we liked them, from least to most. Not that we didn't hate any of them.
No.
So least to most. What was your least favorite show?
C.
Why?
Well, you know that a show is not good when you start to be all cynical and sort of rip it off as it's going along. Like, I was enjoying making fun of it.
Yeah.
And looking at all the flaws, and
that's probably a bad sign.
And Mr. King going, "How come they can do that? Jesus Christ!" Like, he doesn't like it if there's like illogical things in a show.
Well, and I was reading about it today that apparently obvious, they did have consultants on the show, blind consultants and cultural people of how society work and that kind of thing, but it still didn't ring true to me at all. And the first thing I thought of, and if there's any blind listeners, please let me know if I'm wrong in this thought, it made blind people look stupid. Because the idea is that some centuries ago, a virus wiped out most of mankind. There's only 2 million people left on the entire planet. And all those people are now blind, I'm assuming because of the virus. And now, centuries later, they've reverted back to a just slightly above caveman status.
Yeah, why do they live like that now?
If I'm blind, I'm kind of pissed off.
Yeah, is that as far as you can go?
So you're saying I'm blind and I can't do anything for myself. I'm blind and I have to go live in a cave.
Like, they're literally living in caves, in loincloths and animals.
And why are they decorating themselves? They're blind. You know?
Yeah, some of them, they have the scars on their faces.
Yeah.
And
Why are you putting on face paint? You're blind.
Yeah.
The guys that you're putting face paint on are also blind.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff was silly. And then the whole fight scene, you can't fight someone from a distance if you're blind. You can't. There were several instances where one blind guy beating another blind guy, and the third blind guy comes running from 15 feet away and tackles the other guy. You can't do that when you're blind.
I mean, I guess there's a sense,
No,
and then there's a kinesthetic sense of your own body and where it is.
Your own body.
But to actually land someone perfectly where you can body slam them to the ground, didn't you?
At one point, the Jason Momoa character swings around and catches some guy right in the throat.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. Okay? No. And then the other part of it's Jason Momoa. I mean, he's just a giant lug.
It's just terrible.
He's a big brown lump.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gorgeous. He's built like a brick shit house. Mm-hmm. But he can't act.
He can't.
He was perfect as Drogo in Game of Thrones because he didn't have to act.
Because he didn't have to act.
Aquaman was awful. Mm-hmm. Not just because of him, but certainly he was a large portion of why Aquaman was so awful. So right there, I'm already like, oh, geez, I got to watch Jason Momoa for 6 episodes.
Yeah. I'll give it a little bit longer. Like, I'm not ready to give up on it yet because it's kind of intriguing. Like, okay.
By the way, for those of you who saw the scenery, beautiful. Mm-hmm. That's here in British Columbia.
That's on Vancouver Island, Strathcona Park,
Strathcona Park,
in Campbell River.
You can
gorgeous.
actually go there if you're interested. Like people doing tourism to New Zealand for Lord of the Rings. If you want to see the setting for that, it's right here in British Columbia.
I looked at it and thought, what is this film?
Yeah, you did that. You said that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So visually, it's interesting. It's beautiful. Storyline doesn't do a whole lot for me.
Not really.
Acting, I thought overall was odd. If at the very even Alfrea Woodard didn't, and I love her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, I love her too.
It just felt a little off, and it feels like it's going to be predictable.
It has a corny feel about it.
And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. People are saying this is the next Game of Thrones. No, it is not.
No.
No, it is not.
Okay.
It's nowhere near.
No.
If Game of Thrones is a 10, this is about a 3.
Oh yeah, no. Next Game of Thrones, come on.
But I'll definitely. Well, there's 2 more episodes so far on the Apple TV. We'll watch them and then decide.
Oh, how many?
There's I think there's a total of, I want to say 6, but there's 2 more to go.
Oh, all right.
In our
okay.
Monty says, I disagree with you there. I watched a blind dad and his son playing tackle football in the park. the dad's ability to run and find his son by sound was stunning to me.
Yes.
He's right.
Yes.
Except that's in a park on flat land with nothing else around you. This was a battle scene with people swinging axes and sticks and fighting each other, and there's all kinds of noise, uneven ground, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, no, you're right in that point, Monty. If it was just two people who also knew each other, they sort of, and Dad could hear his son, but that wouldn't have been the case
I see what Monty means, because I work with a little boy who has vision. He has a tiny, teeny, little itty bitty pinpoint of vision up here in this right quadrant of his eye. It doesn't matter where he executes his environment perfectly. Yeah. He is fascinating. He knows where everything is. So it's an intriguing thing. We can't tell. We don't know.
I agree. In that situation, but in the middle of a fight scene, in a battle,
your adrenaline's up, and there's people running around everywhere.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have. There was also other issues where they have two blind guys, and one guy, I didn't say it when we were watching it. One of the bad guys gets off his horse and sticks his hand out, and his helper, took his staff and stuck it in his hand. You don't know where his hand is. It just literally we've seen that in movies where the squire hands him his sword without a word, but there was no words. Now, I wish they had done what they did do in some situations in the show where the characters would snap their fingers to give an audio cue of this is where I want you to put the thing. That makes sense. If he had done that, if he reached out and snapped his fingers and the guy would have put the staff in there, no problem. But two blind guys without any sound, and you just stick your hand out and the staff shows up, no, that's just... And I don't think I'm nitpicking from the point of view of it took me out of it. It's like, how's a blind guy doing that kind of thing? So next up, second favorite of the three?
Oh, it's hard. The next two I find difficult to choose between.
Okay, I will. My second favorite was For All Mankind.
Okay, yeah.
The lead actor, Ed, I don't like that actor, so that's going to take me out of it a little bit. I know the story; it's always been fascinating to me. I've watched all the specials and documentaries, and From the Earth to the Moon, and all that kind of stuff. I watch that stuff regularly. Sorry, I still had the music going on back there. I watch that stuff regularly. Love it. I'm rewatching From the Earth to the Moon, so I know a lot of the background of what was real and what wasn't real, and it's interesting to see how they, in this show, fed in reality to the fantasy of the sci-fi. And I'm also fascinated and love alternative history type shows. For those of you who don't know, this is a show that posits what would have happened if the Soviets had landed on the moon first. Remember, the Soviets had the first spacecraft, the first artificial satellite. The Soviets had the first person in space, had the first woman in space, had the first EVA, extravehicular activity, first moonwalk. It wasn't called a moonwalk. Spacewalk, first spacewalk. So the Soviets were kicking the Americans' ass and everything. If it was important for you to be first, and it was for the Americans and the Soviets. So this just takes that to the next level. What would have happened if the Soviets had gotten on the moon first? And so I'm sitting back watching this going, okay, I get this. I can see this is going to happen. And then the last 10 minutes, I don't want to ruin it for anybody. The last 10 minutes of that first episode, I went, oh, they're going in a whole different direction. And they dialed it back. But from now forward in the show, it's going to be completely different. It's not going to have any relation at all to what's happening, what actually happened. And that's going to be really interesting.
It's very well done.
It's very, very well done.
Really is.
The acting is really good.
Yes.
I like the characters. A lot of familiar names: Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Ed Grissom, Deke Slayton. A lot of folks that are real people are now being portrayed in this. So I like the idea of this. I'm definitely going to watch all of it, if only because of my fascination with the space program in general. But also, I think it's going to be an interesting show. There's the show that I was telling you about. We were talking about this last night. The other show where Hitler won the Second World War. It's called The Man in the High Castle. And that wasn't. I didn't like that one.
Oh no.
Didn't like it. It apparently it's good. I personally wasn't crazy about it. But this alternative history, I'm really going to enjoy it. MacMan says, first space station. That's right. Yeah. If it wasn't for that rocket blowing up, they would have been first. Well, the Soviets lost a lot of rockets. And then finally, the morning show with Drew Barrymore.
Oh no, Reese and Jennifer.
Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon and Steve Carell.
Steve Carell. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, I it's fabulous. It's compelling and it's emotional, and I love Jennifer Aniston. I love Steve Carell, and I haven't ever really liked Reese Witherspoon, but she's quite captivating in it as well. It's going to be an interesting story.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Reese Witherspoon in general, and her acting in this show in particular just didn't. I found her distracting. I kept thinking that's Reese Witherspoon. Whereas I didn't feel that way with Jennifer Aniston's character. I really liked her character. I liked her intensity. But I'm like you as well. I love Jennifer Aniston. I think she's a wonderful person. I don't know anything about her. She could kill kittens for all I know. I don't know. But I get that feeling from her. So I like her character. Monty says, I can't stand Steve Carell. I like Steve Carell in comedies. I don't really get him in dramas. And his character in this show is designed for you to hate him if you have any shred of morality. You're supposed to hate this guy. So, Monty, you're going to love this show.
You're going to love hating him even more.
Absolutely love hating him. I don't like the climate that the show is describing, the workplace the show is describing, is an awful workplace. And that's been shown in many, many ways, not just from a news point of view, where it's fluffy morning news type stuff. There's a new panda in town kind of crap. These fluffy interviews they do. I used to, before in college, when I got up in the morning, I'd turn on one of the American shows, Good Morning America, whatever it is, Today Show, and haven't watched them since because they're just fucking awful.
Oh, they're dreadful.
But also the things we've heard about the behind-the-scenes machinations of these people getting fired and not promoted and that kind of stuff. We know that's true. So that aspect of this show is going to be awful. One of the characters in the show found out that she was going to get passed over for a job, and that pissed everybody off, or pissed her off, him off. So that stuff is true. Turns out the show is different than what they had planned on, because I think about 8 months ago, when the whole Me Too, Harvey Weinstein, Matt Lauer thing blew up, they rejiggered the show to include all this stuff, because they really couldn't have done the show that they were planning on doing and ignored that aspect of the news. So that, because I knew that, I kind of felt like that part of the show was tacked on. It was still well done, but it felt like, yeah, you're doing this because you have to, kind of thing. But apparently, it goes back to a different show once they deal with this Steve Carell character. And it goes back to the show you think it's going to be. You expect it that it's going to be. Okay. For better or worse. There's not enough, with Jennifer Aniston and Steve Carell, there's not enough comedy in it. For me, I think it should be a little lighter.
I've seen Jennifer Aniston in serious films, and she's fantastic.
She is.
She's great.
But I think that there's not enough lightness to this. I don't think if this show is this level of intensity for its entire season, I want to watch it, because I don't like hour-long dramas. You love Grey's Anatomy?
Oh no, I don't love it. It's just fluff right now that I.
Well, it's good fluff. There's nothing wrong with fluff.
No.
I've never watched medical dramas, Law and Order type. Law and Order I watched.
I like Law and Order.
L.A. Law, all that kind of stuff. That heavy drama over and over. It's boring for me. I think this show could get boring. I like it better than the other two right now, but it has the potential to just be a heavy workplace drama that I really. And it also feels very Sorkin-esque light. Aaron Sorkin's the guy who wrote The West Wing and Newsroom and other shows like that. And he had a particular style, very erudite language and writing. And particularly, he had a thing that what they called walk and talk, which was technically very interesting because the characters would walk through a workplace all over the place with the camera in front of them, and the camera guy's backing up like a mofo. And they did that on this show. And went, oh, don't steal from Sorkin. It wasn't good. It didn't look natural.
Not
kind of
really,
thing.
no.
But and then so next up, that's the other thing is I talked to Jim about this. They have released 3 episodes of each of these shows, and then the rest of the episodes will be a weekly thing. So you can't and won't binge watch these unless you save them all up.
Unless you save them.
What do you think about that? Do you like binge watching? Do you like a weekly episodic type show? Did you prefer one or the other?
Depends on the state that my life, whatever stage my life is in. I have binge watched.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah. So, depends.
So you're saying that if you're moody and depressed, you're more likely to sit on the couch and just binge watch things?
Yes. Yes.
I can see that.
Yeah.
My argument against binge watching is we've lost that aspect of TV culture where we watched the show on a Sunday and went to work on Monday and talked about it. As I said to Jim, the problem we have now is that all these shows get dumped on us. There's 12 episodes. Okay, I'm going to watch 2 tonight. And you go to work and someone else has watched 5. And they're like, did you see? Don't tell me. I'm not on episode 5 yet. Don't tell me. So it cuts off the conversation. It cuts off that cultural touchstone that we have, which is that conversation we can have with each other, whether it's at school or work or even online. Where you can't read anything about the show online because you don't know if the writer is going to tell you about things that you don't know about. You know, not Game of Thrones. House of Cards was the first example of that, where I avoided any conversation about it because Netflix dropped all 12 episodes on one day, and I didn't watch them all in one day. So when people started talking about it, it's like, oh, I don't want to know, because I don't know where you are. I don't know. You're going to say something. Oh, this character died. Ah, son of a bitch. You know. So I like episodic TV. I like having that time and space.
The gap in between.
The gap in between where I can talk about it.
And anticipation.
Anticipation. And discuss it with friends and family and people online, things like that.
I find there's so many choices now that you might say to someone, hey, did you hear about this Mrs. Fletcher show or whatever? And people go, well, where is it? Because there's so many choices now that a lot of people are out of sync with what they know is available. They probably don't stream. They only have Netflix or they only have cable, and they have all these different packages.
It's interesting that is a problem and is going to continue to be a problem because we culturally as a large group no longer have those things where we know we're all sitting in front of our TV enjoying this thing all at once.
Yeah, it's not the case anymore.
You know, Thursday night, 8 o'clock, Friends. Everyone watched it. We all sat down, we watched Friends. Saturday night when I was a kid, it was The Wonderful World of Disney. You know, we only had 3 channels, so we were all watching the same damn thing. You know? And so it's better now. We have more choice. We have more variety. We have more people working. You know, Vancouver is a film and TV hub, so there's lots more people working on these shows, which is fantastic, great for them. But there are almost too many shows. I think MASH's season finale, I think, hit, I'm just making this number up, like 35 million U.S. homes. Game of Thrones season finale, the biggest thing that we've watched in the last 2-3 years, maybe 4 million homes. So the vast majority of the population hasn't seen Game of Thrones. We think they do because we talk about it, but they haven't. They haven't seen it. We're not. It's not this what NBC call appointment TV. We're not doing that anymore. I think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing.
It depends if you think that it's a great thing that these shows are a part of our culture.
Yeah, I do believe that. I do believe that we're getting more TV. Whether we're getting better TV is obviously a personal opinion. We're certainly getting more of it.
Yes.
Speaking of things that some people like and some people don't, emojis. Melissa has discovered the emojis or memojis on her iPhone. I'm getting emojis all the time.
I don't send them to anyone else but you.
Now, what was the question you were asking about emojis and memojis?
Oh, I said to you, I wonder, who how did they come up with, because they just came up with all these new emojis. There must be about 80 new emojis, more. So I was saying to Shawn, I wonder who decides on that. So
what was the emoji you were looking for and couldn't find?
Oh, there's been a few of them.
There was something in particular that started this conversation. Can't remember what it was.
Well, because sometimes I feel like they disappear.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if that happens.
They don't. I found that out. They
Right.
do not delete emojis.
Okay.
Once they've been approved, they stay approved.
Because they have to be approved by this committee.
The Unicode committee.
The Unicode. But Unicode committee is just a bunch of white guys.
Yeah, that was an interesting article, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That for those folks who don't know, the Unicode, I think it's 15 people in the committee, and 12 of them are basically white American male engineers who live in Southern California, or who live in Silicon Valley. And so their view of the world is that view of the world. And they're having a problem. And for example, one of the things that I read in the article, this woman said she wanted a white wine emoji, a little white wine glass, because right now there's only a red wine emoji. My first thought was, why wouldn't you have a white wine emoji? What makes you think that the one red wine emoji is good enough when it seemed bloody obvious to me that you'd have a white wine emoji too? So this woman has to fight to get a white wine emoji.
Yeah, she didn't get approved this time.
And then there was the example of the trans community wanted their own flag, and flags are very touchy for people. We've seen Apple and other companies have gotten in trouble for including the Taiwan flag.
There's no Tibetan flag.
There's no Tibetan flag.
Because they don't want to piss off China.
China, exactly. The trans story was really funny. So the trans community latched on to the lobster emoji.
They did.
Because I didn't even know this, and I've eaten 18,000 lobsters. Lobsters have both sex organs, male and female.
Mm-hmm.
So
hermaphrodite, I think, is the word.
Is
Is that right, everyone? Hermaphrodite?
But I thought it was very clever of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're not going to do one for us, we're gonna co-opt our own.
Yes.
But why do you like emojis? Why do you like using emojis?
Oh, sometimes they just convey just what you want to convey.
It's funny. I'm glad you said that, because I think in that story or another story I read really bothered me. It seemed like it was a younger person said that I like using emojis because sometimes I can't find the words to express what I want to say.
Well, that's a concern to me.
And I read that and went, what kind of illiterate boob are you?
Well, that's what we're developing here.
Most emojis are nouns. It's a car. It's a glass of white wine. It's a peach. It's a carrot, as Scott Thrift has posted in the IRC chat room. You can't write out. It's because you're lazy and don't want to write out the word carrot, or don't want to write out the word white wine glass, or whatever it is.
Yes, but it's quicker just to begin the word carrot and the emoji pops up than search for the emoji.
That's fair. But what I'm saying is, it's still, if you say that use an emoji because it replaces, I can't find the words, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's utter bullshit. It just means you don't want to write out the word carrot for whatever reason. Mostly because you're lazy. My bias is I hate emojis because I don't know what you mean by the emoji. There's all kinds of emojis. There's someone, when we mentioned this earlier, someone put in a I heart emoji. Whoever did that earlier in the show, please repost it in the IRC chat room. But his heart wasn't the heart that we see. The heart had something on it. The heart wasn't just a red heart. And the problem was I couldn't see or understand because the emoji was so small. I couldn't see what it was. Were those Band-Aids on the heart? Is that you know what I mean? So now I
because you need glasses. You're old.
I'm wearing glasses.
Oh, you're old. You can't see the emojis.
But what that means is I now have to translate your emoji and try to figure out what you mean by the emoji. You know what I'm saying? Dave D's heart was taken.
Yeah, it's like a little sparkle.
See, it's a sparkle. I couldn't see the sparkle.
Yeah, there's many different hearts.
So I look at your emoji, and I got to try to figure out what the fuck your emoji
I don't
means.
feel like I send emojis in an abstract way.
Oh, no,
I feel like
you
my
don't.
emojis are connected to my message because
Yes.
I use words, and then I finish up with an emoji to sort of pull together my message. I don't
Yes.
use them as what I'm afraid of in hundreds of years. They'll become the language of the human race.
It'll be hieroglyphics.
And be hieroglyphics of emojis because 3 billion people use emojis now. So,
And the problem with that is, at least with words, we all agree in the English language what heart means, right?
Yes.
If you put up an emoji that's got sparkles on it, I don't know what that means. That means sparkly heart? What does sparkly heart mean? I can try to figure it out. And I don't like doing that. It's kind of annoying.
Well, that shows how your brain is, though. It really does. You're going to be like, well, what does that mean? Why did she send sparkles on her heart?
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
That means your heart feels sparky. It means
what does that mean?
It means it feels like it's singing.
Oh, get out of
Oh,
here.
come on.
Yes, sure. What do the sparkles mean? If your heart's singing, write singing heart.
No, it's not. Besides, sometimes if I'm decide to use that one, it's because there's a lightness to my heart for some reason.
But you understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying.
It can cause confusion. And again, it's another issue is small screens, small emojis.
And they come out different on Facebook. If you do an emoji on your Instagram and you're doing it, it comes out on Facebook. They come out different colors and all that stuff.
It's annoying. And again, so that might represent other things, other people. So they can be confusing. I'm not a huge fan of them. The only emoji I use on a regular basis, not even emoji, it's the colon bracket for happy face or sad face. With you, I'll get a little more involved with emojis. But for other people, I rarely send emojis other than the happy face and the sad face. Because I just can't be bothered. I'll write it out. I'm not lazy.
Oh, no, I write out all my messages. I'm rather a verbose texter, if that's a thing. I can, I prattle on.
I know, I've received some of those texts.
Because I like to write. I like to express myself in writing. But I usually finish up with an emoji.
Folks, that's it for tonight's show. What do you think about emojis? Send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Let me know what you think about the new Apple TV shows. I'm very curious. Did you know that most of the critics have been lukewarm to those shows that we watched, but people really like them? Rotten Tomatoes has a critic score of less than 50%. So less than half the critics like these shows. But 75% of the audience likes the show. It's a big difference between how the critics are watching these shows and how the audience is watching them. I'm very interested to see what people say about the new show. Send me an email to Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com. Let me know what you think about the new Apple TV shows. There's still a bunch coming. There's still Snoopy in Space. I have to watch Snoopy in Space. I'm going to watch Snoopy in Space. And Ghost Riders is a kid show. I'm looking for, not kid, like a young teenager, young adult type show. Really looking forward to watching that with our son Rory to see what he thinks about it. There's not a Netflix level of shows there, but they've got a few shows that are going to be kind of interesting. We said off the top, and I think you agree with me, when I talked to Jim about it, The Banker with Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, yes, that looks very interesting.
Really good.
Yes.
Really, really good.
Yes.
Interesting in that. So let us know what you guys think about those. As always, I want to say thanks to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining us. You guys for being tuned in live. Again, my apologies for missing out the last 2 weeks. Hopefully we made up for it by entertaining you this evening. As always, thanks to my lovely wife.
Thank you.
Folks, that's it for tonight's show. I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya.
Bye.